So I tried to do this romantic getaway with my husband. But little did I know, all the time, all the effort I went into planning for this trip was going to be ruined because on the day of the trip, he decides to drop this crazy bombshell on me. Let me tell you what he said.
Imagine trying to do something nice for your significant other only for them to throw it in your face. Well, I've just had to cancel a romantic vacation I was looking forward to because of what my husband did. He did not consult me at all when he did this, which is what got me so mad. Firstly, it was a romantic vacation, it's for 2 people, therefore this is a crowd. He decided to bring his sister on our vacation because she was, quote, experiencing a breakup. She breaks up with her boyfriend more than 10 times a month, and I thought Fred and I said that we would not get involved anymore. Secondly, she's entitled, and I only tolerate her for Fred's sake. She's very picky about what she eats and is always on social media trying to impress her followers. I have no problem with what she's doing in her leisure time, it's her attitude that I have a problem with. She's rude to people, especially people that she feels are below her. When we're out in public with her, she does not hesitate to make a spectacle. She's a manager's worst nightmare. She's under the impression that her life is a movie and we're all extras. This vacation was supposed to be about Fred and me, and after the year that we've had, I felt that it was needed. My husband is a good man. I don't blame him that much for ruining the vacation. The person that I blame is my sister-in-law, who knows just how to pull the right strings. Well, this time she pulled the wrong one because I was not going to use my bonus to pay for a trip for her. I've already planned everything for us, and it was all ordered, booked in 2s. My husband asked if maybe I could try to accommodate her in the activities that we were doing. I told him that if she wanted to go on a trip, then she could go. But I was not going anywhere near her. It was better for me to go home and for him to stay with his sister than for her to come with us on the trip. She has no idea how important it is to our relationship, which has been so shaky. Over the past year, my husband has had some health scares. I've struggled with nursing him back to health, and I've also had so much work stress as well as additional family stress. Our house has been under a depressing cloud for months, and it's been suffocating. But now my husband's feeling better, and I've just gotten a very big bonus at work. I'm so happy about the bonus that I've just received, as I've been working hard for it. I was the only one working for most of the year. My husband's supposed to start work after our vacation. I booked us a week-long vacation packed with fun and adventure. No expense has been spared. Everything's supposed to be the best. I felt that once we took a break from everything, we could rekindle our romance. And to be honest, knowing that we're about to go on a romantic trip has helped to lift the mood. We've been helping each other pack, setting up the itinerary, everything, planned right down to the T. Our flight was late morning, which was the most affordable flight that I could possibly find. I got there before boarding time and waited for him. He was already supposed to be on the way. He told me in the morning that he was meeting with his new boss, but it would not take long. When I messaged him, he did not even reply, so I got very worried because we were now dangerously close to boarding. Then, he showed up with his sister and asked if he could pull me aside for a talk. I agreed to talk to him, and we went to the side to talk. He told me that he was sorry for asking me this at such short notice, but he wanted his sister to come along with us. I thought he must be joking at first and actually started to laugh. He told me that he was not joking. She was going through something. I said that if she was going through something, then she needed to deal with it, not run away. He said that she broke up with her long-term boyfriend once again because she found out that he was cheating with one of her friends, and I must admit that I felt sorry for her. But it was not enough for me to allow her on the trip. It was already going to be complicated to move things around, and I also did not want the third wheel on my vacation. I also knew that all her expenses were going to come out of my pocket. If she was a normal person, then maybe it would not have mattered, but she did not know what the word grateful means. Larissa actually has a pretty good life. She's a marriage therapist and also does some content creation. She claims to do really well with both, and the only problem is that by the middle of the month, she'll already be broke and asking Fred for money. She makes enough to take care of herself, and she does not have a child or any major expenses. Even her home was a gift from her grandparents. I mean, she spends her money on expensive clothing, shoes, and food. She lives an extravagant influencer life for her social media followers. They don't know that she cannot afford some of the things that she claims to own. She claims that everyone else does it, but I know she's lying. I know plenty of people who do well with content creation. They're very humble and they put their money to good use. If only my sister-in-law took a page out of their books. But besides that, I really don't like her. I told my husband that I'm not comfortable with his sister joining us for the romantic vacation. I told him that he could give her some cash and she could take herself shopping, but as for our vacation, three's a crowd. It appeared that she was listening because she then started to act melodramatic. At first, she tried to be condescending and make me feel like I was making a big deal when I was not. I just stood there looking at her unfazed, and then she started to cry. She was short, stomping her feet, and she then started to speak to her brother like I wasn't there. She was calling me mean, unreasonable, and she basically said it's not so many words. If she was my sister, I would have agreed. Well, but because it's Larissa, I would never. She claimed I had a vendetta against her. She told her brother that she does not know why I don't like her, and then she cried these crocodile tears. It took everything within me not to roll my eyes at her. She really could pull out the waterworks if she wanted, and that was how she got everything. I could see that my husband was close to the breaking point. I would not allow such a thing, so I made a decision right then and there. I was not going to allow her to ruin my trip. It was better than getting a chance to spend time with her brother if that was what she wanted. I took my phone and went to sit in a quiet area so I could think. And then I did what was necessary. I decided to cancel our flight tickets and our reservations. I then showed my husband what I've done. He was not happy. He told me that I'm acting crazy and this was not the way to behave. He cannot tell me how to behave when he cannot even tell that puppy that his sister is to behave. She told me that she hates me and thinks that I'm a loser. So I asked my husband if he was going to let her speak to me like that, and he told me that he had nothing more to say to me, and then he took his sister and he left. That was earlier today, and I still have not heard from them since. I'm not going to apologize. I think I was right. She had no right to be a third wheel on our trip, and now I'm missing out on it, and it sucks. Update. He's decided to act very childish about the matter. Hey, it's been a week and my husband's giving me the silent treatment. He's just started working, so I don't get to see him often. When I make food for him, he does not eat it. Instead, he eats out or just makes food for himself. He's also been spending a lot of time with his sister, and when he posts the pics, he says stuff like, "Blood is thicker than water." Maybe I need to remind him of just how loyal his sister really is. When he was very sick, he barely visited him. When I asked her for help with small things like talking him, and going to the doctor, she never responded to me. She basically ignored him when he was sick, and her excuse was that she did not do well with sick people. That was a lie, of course. She cannot take a break from partying to visit her own biological brother. She just did not care about anything that did not benefit her. I've spoken to my best friend about this, and she suggested that I should apologize. I'm not the one in the wrong. I don't want to say sorry. Larissa is the one who ruined our trip, so she must be the one to say sorry. If she had not tried to involve herself in the getaway, then we would be on our way back home now. Either way, I think that I need to do something to make it up to him, and if I think about it objectively, our marriage is what's taking the brunt of it. She does not care if anything happens to our marriage. In a way, she helped me to put our marriage in a worse situation. She's never wanted me to marry my husband. She wanted her best friend to marry him. Apparently, they dated when they were in college, but things simply did not work out. I see the way that she always is, comparing me to her best friend. She has another thing coming for her if she thinks that my husband and I are going to allow her to ruin our marriage. Therefore, I've decided to swallow my pride and fix things with him. I'll take him on surprise weekend getaways. I got most of my money back after canceling the trip. I'm thinking of something by the lake, away from people. Let us hope that he agrees or at least starts to speak to me sometime. Updates. Guys, you cannot make this up. It is just way too good. My sister-in-law, well, shall be the bane of my existence. Does anybody want to adopt her? Because right now she's managed to ruin yet another big moment for me, and this time her brother is upset with her. She tried to make me look like the bad guy, but she's the one who looks like a bad person. I decided to use some reverse psychology on him. I told him that I felt bad about what happened, so I planned a getaway for us at my parents' lake house. I always wanted to say sorry to his sister for what happened, so she was allowed to join us. There was plenty of space. She was happy when she found out that she would be included and already started talking about the content that she would make there. On the first night, we arrived at the lake house and unpacked. Then I made some lunch while we swam by the lake. She said she needed to get some stuff in town, so it was just him and I. Later that night, she said that she wanted to go to bed early. Well, we had dinner reservations, of course, so we went out to dinner. The dinner went well, and we were quiet and a jovial mood when we got back. We went to sleep immediately. The rest of the weekend passed by without a hitch, and on Monday we were back home. My mother then called me a few days later asking me to give her the keys back. But I could not find the keys, even though I could have sworn that I had them with me. My mom told me not to worry, that they would change the locks, but they were out of town for a while. Since I was sure I've left everything locked, I was not too concerned about it. That is, until 2 weeks later, my husband gets a call. He told me that his sister was in big trouble. I asked why she was in trouble. He said noise complaints from the neighbor. Well, I didn't put too much in my mind, and I was feeling sleepy. I just felt sleepy these days. I wondered why I was having so much fatigue, but anyways, I went to sleep. My husband came back home in the morning, and he was not happy. He told me that my sister had been at my lake house and she had thrown a massive party, and the noise level got so out of control, which was when the neighbors complained, and the house was not hers as she was arrested for trespassing. Now it made sense to me where my keys had gone. To say that I was angry would be an understatement. I wanted to see how bad the damage was. So that afternoon I drove to the house. My parents were not going to be happy about this. It was very bad. There were broken furniture as well as missing things, and I tried to clean up the best that I could, but it was messy. Of course, I took pictures before I cleaned, and her brother could not defend her now. I was going to make sure that she paid for this, one way or the other. I got home and showed him the pictures of what she's done, and he was very sorry about what she did. He could never imagine that she could do something like that. Imagine my husband really being this blind. Well, I told him the truth, that his sister was an entitled brat who did not care about anyone else. Yes, she could do this because she did not respect me. I told him weeks ago when she tried to crash our trip, but he did not listen. He was lost for words and tried to tell me that she would make this right and she was very sorry. I was very much not interested in her sorry. Well, the next day she came to my house with some cookies and an apology note. I told her that she needs to talk to my parents about the damage that she caused. Was she stupid? Who gave her the right to steal my keys and throw a massive party at my parents' lake house? She starts crying and saying that she did not know what came over her. I told her to leave. She's making me sick. I was not just speaking about how annoyed she was, but she was really just literally making me sick. I don't know what perfume she was using, but every time I caught a whiff of it, I felt nauseous. She told me that she would not leave until, well, she got my forgiveness. I had no control over what happened next. I lost control of my stomach and my breakfast as well, and onto her shoes. She screamed and told me that I was crazy. She did not try to help me, she just fled. I rushed myself to the bathroom. I was not feeling that great. I've not been feeling great for months now. Once I felt a bit better, I took out the test from my bag. I'd been dreading doing the test. I was not sure how I felt about being a mom. But my husband and I briefly discussed it, but it was not like we had it planned or anything. But my symptoms were pointing to it. While I was waiting for my results, my phone rang. My sister-in-law were on a live and she was crying. She was talking about how I'd purposely ruined her shoes because I hated her. The people in the comment section were very mean. I didn't get how I could see her live. I never got to see her social media post. It appeared that I was logged into a throwaway account I use for market research sometimes, so as not to throw my algorithm off. Well, anyways, I was mad and just left the live. but not before seeing, what else she was posting. She was posting all about me, making videos where she imitated me. I could tell it was me that she was imitating because she was using me as content and I had no idea. I saved all the videos and the post, and now I'm waiting for her brother to come home so that he can explain, for I have no idea why my sister-in-law is using me for content. Update. Guys, the matter is very serious now, but it's been resolved. Things between my sister-in-law and I have worsened. People have taken sides, and some of them feel that what she did was harmless. She has no idea how she did affect me. She may act as if she's sorry, but I know that she's not. I have people that I do not know laughing at me and my expense. That sort of stress is not what I needed, especially since I found out why I was feeling unwell. Remember before I found out what Larissa was posting these lies about me on social media? Well, I found out that my test was positive. I forgot all about that because I was livid. She's been doing this for a while now, making skits of basic interactions between us, and she even named the character that she modeled after me Layla. My name's Kayla. Tell me that's not a coincidence. In her skits, she even had a wig that was similar to my hair, my mannerisms, and the way that I talk was also copied to a T. It was clear that she would do anything to make fun of me and take her frustrations out on me. I'd been willing to talk to my parents about the case they wanted to file against her. I was willing to let her, get off with a warning, but I decided that she's gone too far and she needed to be taught a little lesson. She could not just disrespect me like that just because she had a grudge against me. So, I gathered all the evidence and took screenshots of the comments, and I sent them to my mother and my best friend. Both confirmed that she was making fun of me, and it was clear who she was portraying. She was using me for clout and had me blocked on her social media, so I simply could not see it. I'm hardly on socials, so I've never noticed it, but she barely pops up on my feed. With that evidence, I waited for my husband to come home. After we had eaten some snacks, I asked to talk to him about something important. I understood that he loved his sister, but she had just been to my house in the afternoon. He told me to stop. She already told him what happened, and she said that I vomited all over her expensive shoes as revenge. What he said next irked me. He said that he understood why I did that as I was not feeling well, so he was just going to give his little sister some money for new shoes. She said the shoes cost $1,000. Immediately, I told him that he would not be doing that. He has just started working again, and there's no way in hell those shoes cost $1,000. I know as much as anyone about shoes, and, well, they cost about $300 at most. Besides, he would not want to give her anything after I showed him what she's been up to. I showed him the video that she was posting, and at first he said that it's just a fictional character that she made up and I should not take the comments to heart, but I knew he would say that. So I showed him the one video that proved beyond reasonable doubt that she was guilty. I showed him the story time she did about the day when she tried to hijack the trip, except she changed some minor details. She said that it was her brother who paid for the trip, and she went on to add that I shouted at her in front of the entire airport and made her cry when I ripped her ticket. So that was why she could not go on the trip that she's been promising her followers that she would be going on. Her brother sat in silence after he played the video, and I could see that he was shocked and still just needed time to process it. So, I decided not to tell him the news that I've gotten earlier that afternoon. He told me not to worry about it, he would handle it. He always says that and never handles it, so I thought that it would be one of those times. I had hoped that she was going to be held responsible and accountable, and I contemplated whether I wanted to waste my energy fighting with her. I concluded that I did not want to argue with her and go through the same thing again. What I was going to do was tell my parents to send her the bill for every single thing that she broke. The next afternoon, my phone started to ring. Larissa's mom was asking me why I was accusing her daughter of cyberbullying. She claimed that Larissa was a sweetheart and she respected me. She would never do this to me, and I told her that it was true, and I had proof if she wanted it. She told me that she was at work and she was not ready to talk then because, well, this is a serious matter. So she suggested that we would meet up at a neutral place and discuss the matter further. I then found a text from Fred telling me that he told his mom and some elders in the family. He went through her page again and found out that she was telling a lot of lies, and so, she could get sympathy from people. The comments were nasty and bashing me. He tried to talk to her and tell her to delete every video where she was bashing me, and she said she did not bash me. I was making things up. It was just some acting. He sounded so mad over the text. He forwarded his conversation with her to me, and she was really adamant that she did nothing wrong. If I was her, I would have just apologized and said she decided to stick to her story because she knew her mom would take her side. I mentally prepared myself for the meeting. That evening, we met at Fred's aunt's house. I had a chance to tell my side of the story. I told them what she did to me, from hijacking my trip and then making a video mocking me to how she stole the keys to the lake house. I showed them the messages that I exchanged with my parents discussing what she's done. I also let them know, how what she did cost my parents a lot. They all looked shocked. How could they not be? They've always known her to be innocent. Once I was done, her mother told her to tell her the side of the story. She did not look up the whole time. And then the waterworks came on. She said that this whole thing was stressing her and I was making it out to be more than it was. She said that she had been sad, and that's why she wanted to go on the trip with us. She asked nicely, but I exploded at her. She also added that I ruined her favorite shoes because I wanted to spite her. She said that she was very sorry about the party, and she took full responsibility, but she had assumed that since she was family, she was allowed to go to the lake house. Throughout all this, my mother-in-law supported her. She claimed that she knew her daughter was not a mean person. She was just misunderstood. Her aunt, seemed to be falling for it. I knew this would happen. They would just all take her side because they did not want to admit they did not raise her properly. I accepted that, but there's no point in this meeting. I told them that they could take her side if they wanted, but her behavior was going to get her in trouble one day. I also told them that they would receive the bill soon, so they could help her pay if they wanted. But then her other aunt, who is one of the reasonable family members, said she needed to delete those videos. She explained that they showed the family in a bad light, and it was not okay for her to imitate people without permission and twist what they said. I could tell that Larissa's parents were a bit embarrassed after somebody finally stood up. Other people who were at the meeting agreed. They told Larissa that she had to delete those videos. So, while we watched, she deleted them. It's been a week now since I sent her an invoice for the party, but she's not responded to me yet. She's not posted anything else at least, but I feel like she did not learn her lesson. Who knows what she's going to do next? Final update 2 months later. So she's done it again. But this time there's no amount of fake tears that can save her. I recently discovered that I'm pregnant. I told the family but told them that they were not allowed to tell anybody. Not long after, text message between her and her best friend, aka my husband's ex, leaked to the family group. Well, the person who sent them said that they found the screenshots in their daughter's phone by accident, and it appeared that she had been talking nonsense about me and my unborn child with her best friend. I don't even want to repeat the things that she said because I think that they'll lead to a bad omen for me and my unborn baby. It does not help that she said she had no intention of paying my parents for what she did to the house months ago. People in the group chat were outraged, and they started to question whether she even felt remorse for what she did to me months ago. An hour later, she called my husband crying because she had just been kicked out by her grandmother. Her grandma told her that she did not deserve an apartment for free, so she's going to have someone else rent it out and then pay off the debt that Larissa has with my parents. Larissa begged my husband to bail her out because she did not have a cent. This comes from somebody who just paid a few days ago. He told her that she had the nerve to call him after she told her best friend that she hoped that I would die in labor so that her best friend could take my place. I know, I got chills when I read it too. He told her that she had better sell all that expensive clothing that she spent her money on. He told her that she's 25. She's not a teenager. Therefore, she's capable of paying her own rent and budgeting. And then he hung up on her and blocked her. I warned her months ago, and, well, this would lead to nowhere, but she did not listen. She's made her mess. Now she must clean it up alone. As for myself, I'm getting ready for our little bundle of joy. I'll focus on that now instead of on Larissa. If I even think for 1 second about what she said, my blood boils, which is not good for me.
I mean, this Larissa girl was completely out of line. I mean, she was verbally toxic, abusive, manipulative. She didn't care about anybody around her. All she cared about was the betterment of her. She cared about views, all the followers that she had, luxury items, all this money. But what she didn't care about was the people surrounding her, which were there to help her. And by the end of the story, it looked like Larissa almost lost everything, and Kayla was the one coming out on top. I want to know your thoughts about this story though, guys, because this one, it did have a lot going on with so much drama. My name's Mr. Reddito. Thank you for joining me today. And if you guys want daily stories just like today's, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, but go ahead and remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.